Anyone in this hobby can provide investment picks, but do they provide the reality of how those picks play out over time? That's what we're going to take a look at today, and really, this is not meant to be a bragging video. This is meant to be a credibility video. We identified an opportunity early in the market, we acted on it, and now we're taking a look at the results of that action. The other side of this too is it keeps me honest. When we do videos like this in the future, whether things go in our favor or something turns out poorly, we want to be fully honest about how these things played out so we can identify trends, find ways that we can repeat that performance, or if it did go poorly, was there something that we missed? Was there something that can help prevent that performance in the future? So if this is your first time watching, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell below. It greatly helps to push this video out to other people just like yourself. But without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so what we're going to do is take a look at some of the first investment picks that I put on this channel. These were all from about 2 months ago at the end of February. We looked at Scarlet and Violet Base, Obsidian Flames, really all the sets that just rotated out for April. And we identified that, hey, these sets are going to be rotating out soon. There were probably some very undervalued cards in these sets. So we're going to take a look at each one and how they've performed since we made those picks. So you can see on my screen, we're starting out with Greavard. I'm going to put a little bit of a clip up on the screen just of me talking about it. It's only about a minute long. And let's take a look at what FebruaryJeff had to say about Greavard and some of these other cards as well. This Greavard, the little Gengar mat underneath it, a little cameo for Gengar in there. I think $14 is still undervalued for that card. This Riolu with the living room completely torn up, like you let your dog out at home and it just tore the whole place to shreds. I think it's hilarious. The Ralts Kirlia Gardevoir that tells a story over time. I'm a huge fan of cards that tell a story. So the fact that all those arts connect with that, those are just going to do they already have done well, but they're going to continue to do extremely well over time. Even the Drowzee. Drowzee might be my favorite pick. If you have the money to be able to get it, yes, I understand there was a lot of market manipulation with Drowzee. It shot up to, I think, what was it, $70 just because of a buyout. But the fact still stands, it's a fantastic art by a great artist, a highly coveted artist, a 151 Pokemon from the original games. I just don't think you can go wrong there. All right, so I think FebruaryJeff had some pretty good information there, because when we look at the charts for all of these cards, let's look at what they were around February 26th. The video was recorded a couple of days before that, but it was posted on the 26th. This card was about 15 bucks, and I will put the actual numbers on the screen of what those market prices were at that time of recording as we go. But about 15 bucks. Now we're looking at a $22 card. That's a pretty nice rise on Greavard. Riolu, this was an extremely nice one, and it is absolutely taking off right now. February 26th, we were sitting at about somewhere around 26. We really caught it right as it started to take off. So about 26 to 28, let's call it, dollars. It is now a $42 card. That is an extremely nice rise on Riolu. Ralts, we talked about the full line of Ralts, Kirlia, Gardevoir. All three of them have continued to explode. This was a $30 card. It is now $53, almost a double up on the Ralts. And I believe it's the same story. If we look at Kirlia, we were down in the 33 range. We're now at 57. Gardevoir, we were around, let's see, around 60, 61. Now we're at 90. All very strong performances from those. Drowzee, I had said it was one of my favorite picks on the list. It had all that market manipulation in the past, but in February 26th, it was around 37 bucks. Now it's 61. even some of the cards that, so there were some super low dollar picks on there as well. They weren't in that clip we just looked at, but I did want to point them out because not everything saw explosive growth. Like I said, I want to be fully transparent in everything. So Klawf was one of those cards that were like, hey, you know what? It's like $4. There's very limited downside risk there. So if you want something cheap to pick up, I don't think it's a bad idea. February 26th, we were sitting around, it was about $4.50. We're at like $5 now. So whatever percentage gain that would be, about 10%. It's not anything huge, but again, it's been a slow climb. And this was among the worst of our picks from back then. It's the same story with Scovillain. It was right around in the $3.50 to $4 range. We'll just call it $4. It's $5 now, so a dollar jump. About a 25% gain. Nothing crazy there. Then we jump to Paldea Evolved. So Paldea Evolved, it's an extremely good set. It's performing super well, the booster box at least. And something we had talked about were these middle evolutions for the starter Pokemon. They were going largely ignored when like the Fuecoco, Sprigatito, Quaxley were all starting to move. These middle evolutions were lagging behind. February 26th, these were sitting about $6. Well, the Quaxwell is 8.5 now. The Floragato was 13.5. It's now almost 20. And then the Crocalor, we were at about 1080, and it's now over a $20 card. So a complete double up, 100% gain on the Crocalor. Then we jump to Obsidian Flames. So I'll put up a clip for a little bit on Obsidian Flames because there's a few different cards in the list here, and I want you to take a look at what February Jeff had to say about that. An SIR for $3 is just egregious. That should just not happen. I know it's Revavroom, but I love Houndour. Houndour is a great Pokemon, Generation 2. I love all the different Houndour in this card. The Pidgeotto, Pidgeot line, absolutely would pick up all three if you can. This Cleffa is extremely hard to grade in a PSA 10, a terrible gem rate. I mean, a lot of IRs have a terrible gem rate for Scarlet and Violet, but Cleffa especially so. And I think that's only going to help the value of this card over time. And then, of course, Charizard, you can't go wrong. The fact that a SIR Charizard is going for $78, I think is also an insult to that card. Myself, Ninetales is my favorite Pokemon of all time. Nothing beats it for me, and I think this is truly one of the best Ninetales artworks we have ever received. $29, $30 for this card. All right, so February Jeff, thank you for your time. We've got the Revavroom EX here, looking at the chart back in February of, February 26th at $4. Not an insane gainer, but really the point we were trying to make with this card was it's still an SIR and it's still extremely cheap, and it's up $1.50 from when we looked at it. The Cleffa was a huge gainer, and the point that I had made back then still holds true today. Gem rate on this card, absolutely terrible. And, people like to just have that in a binder to say that they have the card, whether it's, they get it graded or not. And in February, we were at about $20. It is now a $44 card. It is up 200% on the year. That is an incredible gain. Charizard wasn't as big as Cleffa, but still a significant gainer, about $80. Now it's $107. We knew a Charizard SIR for, $78, $80 was definitely too cheap. The Ninetales, I'm biased. Ninetales is my favorite Pokemon, but at $28, $30, we knew it was too cheap. This is one of the best artworks we've received for the card. It's now $42, $43. And then we get into 151. So again, I'm going to put February Jeff up, and we're going to talk about 151. And I think this is important because 151 had really started to take off there. we wanted to be careful about some of the picks we made because we didn't want to catch something at the top and we weren't sure how long that run was going to go on for. But even now, after 151 has cooled off a little bit, take a look at where some of these cards sit now. This is one of the best Caterpie cards that exists. There's not a ton of them anyway. I would absolutely be picking that up. The Machoke is a callback to the games. Whenever you're moving into your house at the beginning of the game, the Machoke's helping you get all your stuff moved in. I just think that's extremely undervalued at $15. Super cool Dragonair art. This Poliwhirl just is eye-popping in person too. It's not like it has texture on it or anything like an SIR, but it's an extremely eye-catching artwork. All right, so as you can see, those cards were much cheaper. Caterpie is, probably the least drastic example. So if we look at February 26th, about a $14.5 card. It's now 17. Even if it does look like maybe it's coming down a little bit right now after it hit $18. Honestly, worst case with this card, I think it might get back to that, $15 price point. I think that's kind of a psychological number for people. If it drops below 15, I'd honestly be kind of surprised. The Machoke was a huge gainer. We said February 26th, and I think it was actually less than $17. I think it was closer to 15, 16 whenever we called it out. Now it's $26. And then Poliwhirl was massive. We said February, about a $26 card. It is now $45, $46. Almost a $20 gain on that card. Then we move into Paradox Rift. So Paradox Rift was probably, of all the sets we looked at, the least highest performing one. But we kind of expected that. I think that some of these cards did extremely well. Like if we look at the Aegislash, we were at, $580. Now it's almost a $10 card. That card performed extremely well, and we did call that out. The Cyclizar didn't perform as well, so we kind of went back and forth a little bit. I think it's been a slow gainer. Yeah, so February 26th, we were right around a $5 card. It's close to $6 now, so not anything crazy on Cyclizar. Sandy Shocks, again, same story. We were at about, well, honestly, it's pretty close to where it is now, maybe like a 50-cent gain on it. Again, I'll put the exact numbers up for Sandy Shocks. And then Blitzle, we were around 675, 673. It's now over $7. So some of these smaller cards didn't have some drastic gains to them. I still think this Blitzle card is undervalued. The gem rate on it is pretty bad as well. Pretty much all the IRs for these early Scarlet and Violet sets are. And I just think it's a fantastic artwork. So I would still be buying this one. Porygon Z did do very well. So from February 26th, and something we had called out in it is that it's just a really unique art. Like you've got this type of Pokemon in Porygon, which just fits this space, this art really well. You get the Pikachu sign in the back with the Pokeball. I just think it's, really, really cool. And we said February 26th, it was about an $8 card. It's now about 12, so about a 50% gain on the Porygon. And then Gimmighoul was about $10. It's now 13. So pretty good gain on Gimmighoul as well. But the best performing one, I believe, was Mantyke. And we were around $18 to $19 card. This is now a $35 card. I had said that this was one of my favorites for Paradox Rift, and that has held true to now. Roaring Moon, SAR, I still think this one's kind of undervalued, but we did identify it at this close to this low in February of about $32. It's now 40, so it's up $8. And then Swablu and Altaria were also some of my favorites because it's a storyline art. You guys know how I feel about that. And in February, we were at about $15. It's now a $26 card. Altaria also performed similarly. It was 42. Now it's 52, so not quite as drastic as the Swablu, but still a great gain on Altaria. And I've said this before too, sometimes it is harder for these higher dollar cards compared to their lower cost alternatives to get those big percentage gains just because they are a more expensive card. Then we jump to Paldean Fates, where we saw some massive, massive returns. Pikachu was $38, and I'll put February Jeff back up because I want you guys to take a look at some of these numbers from February. With them going out of rotation, yes, we're starting to see some sharp rises. I don't think it's even close to done. It's 2026. We got 30th anniversary coming up. Things are just going to continue to keep heating up. It's just the way the market is right now. Highly recommend picking some of these cards up if you can. Pikachu, great pickup. Yes, it's already $38. I would still grab one if you can. It's Pikachu. Cue the meme. It's Pikachu! And then Ditto, Shiny Ditto is always well liked. I think that will continue to do well. Charmander, Snorlax, all three of these SIRs. Everyone already knows about the Bubble Mew, Charizard, Gardevoir. I actually think best pickup of these three, toss it between Charizard and Gardevoir, but I lean Gardevoir. We don't have a ton of shiny Gardevoir cards, and the fact that we got an SIR of this with the little whooper in the background in the lake, it has a hard gem rate on it. All right, so those were some really low numbers compared to where these cards sit now. So let's take a look at Pikachu. There were a bunch of baby shinies we talked about, like the Ditto and the Snorlax, and all of those have performed super well. Ditto with the release of Pokopia has absolutely exploded. Pikachu, when we were talking about it, was $36, $37. Now it is $82. That is over a 100% return on your money just in a 2-month time period. When we look at Gardevoir, I had said, between all three of them, Gardevoir, Charizard, Mew, I kind of thought it was a coin flip between Charizard and Gardevoir, and I leaned towards Gardevoir. All three of those SIRs performed super well. We'll take a look at all three of them, but Gardevoir did perform the best, albeit not by a huge margin. So back in February, it was about $115, $116 card. It is now $184. Charizard, we were at $218. It is now $318. And then Bubble Mew, we caught this low in February almost perfectly at $550, and it is now $863. So that gets us to, most of the picks. I didn't go through every single card, but I did put in a good mix of some of the lower dollar ones that maybe didn't perform as well. But guys, we were up on every single pick. There's not a single card that we looked at that went down from February. So that's the review of our investment picks from a couple of months ago. I think February Jeff did a pretty good job, and we're going to continue to do this. Like, I can't promise you that every 2 months it's going to be 50, 75, 100% return on your money. The market is just too volatile. It changes every single day. So that's not something I can guarantee, but we are going to keep doing picks, and we're going to review our progress as time goes on. And we're going to continue to try and identify spots in the market that are super undervalued, that we can put our money and have confidence in. But guys, if you enjoyed today's content, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell below. It greatly helps so that I can continue to do this. And don't forget, let's get hunting.